Hey everybody! So today I wanted to talk about working long hours because it's something that I've been doing a lot of lately. And it's something that you just kind of have to get used to if you do background work. When I started, I was told that the average hours that you would work in a day is normally about 12 hours. And it just so happens that my first few jobs that I did were actually really short days. So I think the first job I did was like 3 hours, and then I had like a 4 or 5 hour job. And I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. This is fine. These aren't long days. This is awesome. Because no matter how many hours you work, if it's less than 8 hours, you still get paid for the full 8 hours. So it's kind of nice. And so I didn't really think it was a big deal. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I always have short days. I don't know what people are complaining about. And I'm hearing people who worked on sets for like 16, 20 hours. And I'm like, that is ridiculous. That's just crazy. Well, then now, most recently, I've been having some really long days. The first long day I had was about 14 hours. And it was fine, it wasn't too bad. And then I did 2 days in a row that were 16-hour days, and that was pretty rough. And it's hard to just keep your energy up because most of the time you're getting there at like 6, 7 in the morning, and then you're there until like 10 o'clock at night. So it's hard to keep your energy going for all that time, especially if you're supposed to be happy. Or the two 16-hour days is actually a party scene. So we're all walking around and we're supposed to be laughing and having a great time, and we're all exhausted. So, the best, like most of the time when you have long days, there is a lot of sitting around. So you have a lot of time to sit and holding and read, or, if you're in school, catch up on homework or watch Hulu on any of your devices, anything like that. So you normally do have a lot of downtime in those 16 hours, so that's kind of nice. You can just relax and do whatever you want. But the rest of the time you are working, you're on your feet, and it's tiring. So the hours that you work, there's no real set time. A lot of the times you have early morning calls, so 6 or 7, so you're already waking up early throughout the week, and then when you go to one of these long days, then it's just you're already so tired. So you're up late, and it depends. Like sometimes they're really accommodating and they know you've had a long day, and they're really understanding about that. But I did this one job where it was a night call, and I will never do another night call again because I just can't handle it. So what a night call is basically that they're trying to shoot nighttime scenes, and so they start working, like my call time was like 5:30 p.m. So I worked from 5:30 p.m. to about 4:30 a.m. just so you can use like all that darkness. So that was really rough. And in my case, no matter where you live at night, it's going to get cold. And so they had us holding outside. So we're outside. It was supposed to be a red carpet premiere scene. So we're wearing like cocktail dresses and heels, and we're outside. It's freezing cold. They didn't have enough heaters for everybody. They didn't even have real coffee. That's the thing that really bugged me. I got Starbucks on the way there because I knew I needed a little more caffeine than usual. But when I got there, like normally they'll have like real coffee either in like a dispenser, or they'll have a coffee maker there. No, they had like the little instant coffee packets that people were saying didn't even work. They had like no caffeine in them. So it's like, how inconsiderate. We're going to be here for a long time, and we're going to be here overnight, and you can't even provide real coffee. And this is a 2-day call, so the next day I had to be there again, and the second day I had to be there at 6 p.m., and then we worked until around 3 in the morning. Same thing, we're outside, we're freezing. The heaters they actually turned off because they said they were going to get more propane, and they didn't come back for like 4 hours. So we're sitting there freezing, and it was ridiculous. So if you are ever going to do a night call, you always have to be prepared for that, because I talked to some other people who had done other night calls and they were also all outside, and you just have to make sure that you bring a lot of layers, bring your coats, make sure you bundle up and prepare, because when you can't wear your coats while you're shooting, it does get really, really cold. And it was really rough. I wanted to cry. I was so cold. I was so chilled to the bone. I thought I was going to be sick. So it's really rough. And for the other days when it's long hours, you just have to be prepared. And I know 16 hours of a work day sounds really, really long. That's basically 2 days of work in one. But, I mean, it doesn't really ever seem like that long when I worked those 2 days that were 16 hours. It went by pretty fast. We were working for the most part, so at least when you're working, you know, you get to watch everything that's going on, and you kind of get to keep yourself entertained when you're on set. And then when you're on holding, you appreciate the breaks. So it really is not that bad once you're actually there doing it. And I have anxiety, so I know that sometimes waiting around can give people anxiety, but as long as I keep myself entertained, like as long as I'm reading or, you know, playing a game or something, then it's really not that bad. And you have plenty of snacks, and normally you have real coffee there and tea and everything. So there are a lot of ways to keep yourself awake, and also just making friends and talking to people helps. A lot of the times when it's a 12-hour day and I'm working on set with a group of cool people, then I don't even pick up my Kindle. Like, I don't read anything. You know, I'm barely on my phone because we're all just getting along so well and we're entertaining each other. So those days are always great because the days really go by quickly and you get to know some really fun people, and then you work with them again and again. Like, you'll notice every job that you do, you'll probably see at least one person that you've worked with before. So it's kind of interesting. It's like a really small community, even though there's thousands of us, but you normally do end up seeing the same people over and over again, so it's nice to make friends. The days that are really long is I did this one show, and I was there for 12 hours, and they didn't use me at all. And I was going crazy because it wasn't the best shoot to be on, and so I'm sitting there, and they kept letting people go home, but they were keeping me through every cut, and I was like, seriously, I just want to go home. Like, if you're going to let people go, just let me go, because you're not using me. So I ended up just sitting there for 12 hours, and that was rough, because there weren't a lot of people that I got along with, and, you know, not working, I didn't have anything to do except read, and then my Kindle died, so I had to charge it, and then I'm just sitting there, like, waiting for it to charge. So those are the bad days. That's when it really seems like a long day, when you're not doing anything. But for the most part, the days go by pretty quickly. It's just hard to get your sleep schedule kind of, I don't know, adjusted, because you never know when you're going to have to wake up or when you're going to have to work. And the 2 night shoots that I did a week ago, and I'm still really tired. And I still haven't recovered because I went to bed one morning at 6 o'clock, and then I went to bed the next morning around 5. So, and then I was waking up at like noon. So it's really hard to figure out your sleep patterns. And then if you're working late, if you're working till like 10 or 11, and then your next day your call's at 6 a.m., you have to wake up at like 4 in the morning. So you're not getting a lot of sleep. And there's really nothing you can do about it. I talk to people all the time who just haven't slept at all, and they've just been going nonstop. And I mean, sometimes you have no control over it, because if you're working on 2 different shows, then the show you're working on the next day has no obligation to you to make sure you get enough sleep. You just kind of have to deal with it. The best thing about having early morning calls, though, is that you get to beat the traffic. And living in LA, the traffic is ridiculous. So leaving at 5 in the morning, and you know, there's like no one on the road, it only takes me half an hour to get downtown. And in traffic, it could take you about 2 hours. So I normally just leave really early to beat the traffic, and then when I get to the location site, I just sleep in my car for an hour, because otherwise I would just be sitting in traffic. So that's another thing that would be good to get used to is sleeping in your car. At first I was like, no, I can't do that. Like, I have to be in bed to go to sleep. But, I'm so tired now that when I get to work and I have an extra 45 minutes or half an hour, I can go to sleep in like a minute. I'll be passed out, and then I'll just set my alarm. I'll wake up, shake it off, and then I'll walk over to check in. So sleeping in your car is definitely something that you will be getting used to. Another thing is your relationships are probably going to take a little bit of a hit because it's hard. I know that, sometimes I leave before my husband wakes up to go to work, and then I come home at like 8 in the evening and I have to go to bed in an hour. So it's hard to spend time with people if you are in a relationship and living together, especially. So that's just something you have to be aware of as well. And, your person just has to be understanding and, kind of just has to deal with it. It sucks, but just try to spend as much time with them as you can on the days that you aren't working, and then on the weekends as well. A lot of the principal actors are there longer than we are, but they also get a lot more breaks than we do, and they're there early because they need to get their hair and makeup done. So I feel bad for them because I know they're working longer hours than us. And before, when you would hear people like celebrities going to the hospital for exhaustion, I'd be like, yeah, right, whatever, like they're just partying too much or whatever. But now I completely understand because they are working longer hours than us, and they have to go to the gym, so they're working out way more than any of us are. And then they have all these sorts of events and interviews and appearances that they have to do. So I completely understand why some of them would need to be hospitalized, because it's rough, and I don't even have it that hard, but it's like I feel like I need a vacation because I'm so exhausted. I don't even want to get out of bed. So I completely understand. So again, long hours, all you need is entertainment, something to entertain yourself, a positive attitude and mindset, and tea or coffee or whatever it is that kickstarts you in the morning, because you're going to need it. So I'll be back next week with another video, and I'll see you then. Bye.